How
for
do you
having me.
feel being at Woxsen?
You know, the name in front of the lecture hall, and students can talk to the Vice Chancellor if they think I'm at the right
You're at
address
the right
here.
place.
So it was rather in this respect, I thought, well, it must be a little bit crazy.
My next question to you is, hello everyone. We welcome you again to the Chair Professorship series. And today, we are very happy to welcome Professor Andreas Kaplan, the President and Managing Director of Kuehne Logistics University from Germany. Professor Kaplan has also been the Professor, Rector at ESCP Business School in France and has started his academic career long back with Sciences Po and ESSEC Business School, where he has had the opportunity to transform the lives of thousands of students. And today he's at Woxsen campus. And we're very honored to have you with us, Professor Kaplan. So
Thanks
how
for
do
having
you
me.
feel being at Woxsen?
Well, listen, I'm very impressed. I had a nice campus tour just before. Very impressed with all the sports facilities, with the infrastructure. Also, you feel it, you see it, how much Woxsen University is growing. You see kind of everywhere new buildings growing up. So it's a very dynamic and yeah, it's very impressive. So I congratulate you to what you achieved here. Even, you know, it's even more impressive knowing that 10 years ago you didn't exist. So it's really, you went on a very impressive journey.
Thank you very much. My next question to you is, since you've been someone who has contributed massively in the field of marketing and digitalization as well, so you could tell us more on how do you see the higher education landscape evolve, especially in the field of marketing with the emergence of technologies coming into the picture. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, if we talk really about higher education, then obviously the digital transformation has a massive impact, especially with, accentuated with COVID-19. Obviously, digital transformation of the higher education existed before, but with COVID-19, I think everybody, forced to teach online, forced to learn online, saw also the advantages and the nice things around digital learning and teaching. So now it's here, and I think it's going to increasingly change the sector. There's obviously, with the digital component, there's more competition, more alternative educational providers. So it's a little bit getting more difficult for the established providers or established universities, business schools to find students. So I think I wouldn't talk about disruption yet, but I think everybody should be ready to some changes. And I thought about that before, but one of the things you need in order to be competitive and to stay in the game, student centricity, I think, is a very important factor and increasingly important. And I think Woxsen University does an incredible job in student centricity. I just heard that students can talk to the Vice Chancellor if they want. They can talk to the Chancellor, I mean, this is incredible. And just the two students, they talked to me before and said, you have these extended campus opening hours, 24/7 library, whenever there's the exam period. So this is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I mean, having seen a lot of European institutions where you have contributed through your presence as in leadership roles,
yes.
How do you see business schools coming up these days, and what are the key changes that you believe are crucial for business schools to be successful?
Yes. Well, I continue with what I just said. I think student centricity is really key. Because there is going to be much more competition with the online world. Some university which has not been a competitor because it's on the other side of the world. Now, with the digital transformation becomes a competitor. So you will need to fight more for your students, for the best students, obviously, and you want to have the best students. So student centricity, putting the students really at the heart of a university or business schools, I think is key. And the second thing I would say what is really important is to differentiate yourself as an institution, and the branding effect, but more the differentiation. Because again, due to the digital transformation, there's going to be one key player in one subject in the world. Because this is how it's going to be. Obviously, there's per country and then per region. But if you have the possibility to study at the best institution in your field, even if it's an online degree, why should you go for the second, third, fourth best? So I think every institution has a high interest, or should really think about what is special about my institution, what is my differentiation, what's the unique selling proposition.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the two: student centricity and brand differentiation.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't agree more with these 2 points that you mentioned. I think it's bang on. And adding more to that, I mean, you have also been recognized as one of the most widely recognized business and management authors globally, right? So
I'm 50,000 about that.
50,000 plus citations,
Yes.
right? If you could tell us, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure that comes along with it to be able to produce more relevant and something which is still, I would say, connected with the happenings around, be it in industry, be it in academia, right? So how does that challenge you to keep producing year after year?
Honestly, probably less than you would expect. Because all this, if you want to call it success or being cited a lot, it came by accident. I mean, you cannot plan for that.
Of course.
I mean, this was just, it happened because we wrote a paper at the right moment, the right time, the right topic. So honestly, on this side, I don't feel a lot of pressure because I never, in this research and producing papers industry or sector. I mean, I see my career always in the other area of leadership positions in higher education. So this writing of papers, and for me, was always kind of the nice thing to do, to relax, so. No, there's not. There's in the leadership positions there might be a lot more pressure, but not in the research. That was always for me the nice thing when I had time, and you
were always very passionate about it.
I was and it was always happy to do it when and you're in a leadership position. So essentially, we never have time to write anything. We always, because to write a paper, you need at least like a couple of weeks would be nice in a row to not have any other things to do in this leadership and management. So when do we have that?
Absolutely.
So when I have that, when it's, I don't know, some holidays or some breaks. So I don't know. I don't feel a pressure that I need to write the next paper with lots of citations, because again, you cannot plan for that. And I'm not like a music star like I don't know, Britney Spears, where they say I need to be in the top 10. So I'm quite relaxed about that.
Yeah. So it's a process. It's a process, and you keep doing it, and the more, as you rightly said, when you're putting in the right work at the right time. And the right content, I think it reaches millions of people, and they start citing you.
Yeah,
right.
But I think it's not, you cannot plan for it.
Absolutely.
Because if it were that easy that you said, okay, I need, this is the topic you need to write on, and then, well, many more people would do so.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I really say it was by accident. There was I was lucky.
Yeah. So Professor Kaplan, I mean, you have also, been very, very, I would say, been very particular about projects that have contributed to digitalizing the realm of higher education also. So if you could tell us, are there any specific projects or collaborative areas which you are looking at in times to come that could be adding on to building further the digitalization aspect in higher education. Are there any specific areas that you see?
I mean, obviously, everything that is connected to artificial intelligence will change also quite a lot in higher education. I think we have only seen the tip of the iceberg for now. But already, if you think of ChatGPT and how it changed, like you did the ways you can do exams, or I mean, at some point you would even need to ask yourself, are assignment papers, I mean, is it still possible? And then the question, obviously, do you allow your students to use ChatGPT or not? In my opinion, you cannot not allow them, because it's there. It would be kind of if you tell students to do a calculation without a calculator. I mean, this would just not make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's there.
I think we had to adapt to it.
Yeah, you have to teach actually your students how to perfectly use ChatGPT and how to make the most of it, because obviously you also know that ChatGPT is also producing still lots of errors. So you need to teach your students how to perfection it and how to really make your work better. But obviously then you also need to, in the evaluation part, you also need to be a little bit more difficult and harder, because they have, like with the calculator, obviously the calculations become more difficult.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing where we already see how it's changing. But I think there's a lot more to come. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but at some point, do we need the human professor? It is, I mean, you might think I'm crazy, but there is already, look at language learning. Language learning, there's software which is driven by artificial intelligence, which adapts it exactly to the learner's progress and speed. And so there is no professor involved anymore. There's the software, AI, teaching the student a foreign language. So at some point, I hope I'm not gonna experience that myself, and I hope I'm gonna be already in retirement when it's happening. But I think there's a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so my next question is more on the lines of your leadership style.
Yes.
And if you could tell us what is the kind of approach that you have in your leadership, and how do you come across to your students and your faculty, your team in general, and how has that been able to create a positive impact in the team around you?
I would characterize my leadership style with a lot of empowerment.
Yeah.
I delegate a lot. So sometimes people also think I'm not working myself, but which is fine. I mean, actually, this is I always a little bit more as a fun part. But I often say whenever I don't have any work anymore and I'm completely redundant, then I made a good job. Because I really try to delegate a lot, empower people to be able to do their job. And this goes along, has to go along with a lot of trust building. Because obviously you cannot empower people if they don't trust you, because they say, well, but if I make a mistake, then he's gonna be mad and he's gonna, punish me. And so you need to show them that they are empowered, they can make mistakes, you're not going to be completely mad. This is part of delegation. You lose some of the control, and it's good. Mm-hmm. And if they trust you and they feel that they can come to you whenever they made a mistake, this is also important, that they know when they should come to you and tell you, okay, here I messed up. Now let's find a solution, and then it's fine. So it's about trust building, empowerment. Yeah, I would say that's my leadership style.
Great. So I believe you've been able to gather the interest of people and create that positive impact by empowering them more and building that trust amongst them, that that they mean a lot of value and business to the company and to the organization they belong to, which is very good. With that, I come to the last question of this discussion is, how do you see the students and faculty around the world come together to build the future of higher education. So if you could tell us 3 mantras that anybody in the world should keep in mind when they are building a higher education institution.
Well, I'm not sure if it's only about higher education, but society in general.
Yeah.
There's so many phenomena where you cannot do it on your own anymore. And that's where you need to collaborate and to cooperate and to work together. And obviously it starts in higher education or in education. But I mean, there is the first one is sustainability. I mean, obviously you can be the perfect institution or the perfect country in sustainability if your neighbor country is the opposite. I mean, the emissions, unfortunately, they don't stop at the frontier. So this is one thing. It's the same with all the digitalization. We just talked about artificial intelligence. Also here, it's a lot of responsibility in terms of data security, data, personal data. Also here, and we see it. I mean, there are some countries in the world which are much more open of using data and controlling citizens, and there's others where it's a lot stricter, and then it's about innovation. Where can the companies go? And obviously they go there where they can innovate the best. But if you have too strict data security or personal data restrictions or laws, then obviously companies will go somewhere else. So innovation will go somewhere else. So also here, you need to cooperate. You need to work together. And well, you asked me for 3 mantras, so I'm looking for one last. Yeah, maybe add anything that because in order to cooperate and to build something together, you need to have this intercultural understanding and comprehension, because without that, it's very difficult to work together. And it's really small things where some culture might feel completely offended and the other culture is not really meaning it in a bad way. It's just culture.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that. So I would say intercultural understanding and comprehension.
Nice. Great. Thank you very much.
Well,
and
thank you.
with that, I think I have just one last question for
Yes.
you, which is more related to your personal life.
Okay.
Right? I mean, the world knows about Andreas Kaplan as a professor, as a president, as a
Yes.
rector. But beyond that, I think we are all humans.
Yes.
And
So me as a human.
so,
Yes. What's the question?
you as a human. And my question to you is, if you were not a professor,
Yes.
what would you be and where would you be?
Well, good question, and probably I would need to think a little bit more than 2 seconds. But intuitively, I would say I would probably be an interior architect, designer, because that was always what I wanted to do when I was young. And well, life happened and things changed. Yeah, but probably maybe an internal designer.
Nice. Great. I mean, I think that's really interesting to know. And which are the top 3 countries that have always, created that sort of curiosity for you to keep knowing more about, keep learning more from? So if you could tell us your top 3 countries.
My top 3 countries. Well, apart from Germany, because obviously Germany, my home country. Well, I always had a love affair with France, Paris especially, but France. That's kind of, I visited France, I think the first time when I was 16. We went through, in the evening, through Paris by bus, and I fell in love with France. So this is definitely one. Italy also. I spent a couple of months, I lived in Italy, in Rome. I liked it a lot. I also kind of fell in love, but my love for France was bigger, so I ended up a lot in France. And third country, well, I should say
India is not on your list.
I should say India, but honestly, it's my first time in India. So I arrived yesterday.
Yes.
So I cannot really say
Yes.
authentically that
Yes.
India is now on
Yes.
the list.
Yes.
But it has a very good start.
It will get into your list.
It will get in my list.
Very
so if
soon.
you ask me in a week, maybe it's on my list. Now I would say Austria. My mom is from Austria, so I also have a very tight relationship with Austria. But India is. I mean, it's. I like the energy. I like the what I saw now. You know, and obviously what you see, what you see on the internet and etc. I like the cultural heritage.
Yeah.
And this is definitely something I really like.
Yeah.
And the food, and I maybe in comparison to other Europeans, I like spicy food. So I think I'm at the right address.
You're at the right
here.
place.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I mean, when we reached out to you, when Woxsen reached out to you about setting up this chair professorship, right? I'm sure it raised your brows. I'm sure it did. So if you could tell us, starting from that period till today, what are your impressions of the institution? You know, right from the chair professorship discussion that we have had, we have named one of the lecture halls in your honor. And of course, I mean, with times to come, with more collaborations that we have with you, with KLU, in general, I think a lot of new avenues will come up. But if you could tell us more about that period, as well as the general impression right now.
Yes. Well, listen, yes, it raised my eyebrows, but rather because I thought, what institution is wanting to name a chair after me? So it was rather in this respect. And I thought, it must be a little bit crazy. So I looked it up, and the same for the I mean, I feel completely honored, but it feels awkward. And today when we had the campus tour, I saw, you know, the name in front of the lecture hall, and it feels like really strange. So, but thank you very much. It's a great honor. So it raised my eyebrows, and then I did obviously my internet research, and I saw that Woxsen University is actually a great institution, which felt even more awkward then. And and since then, you know, I have the impression I know you very well because you're so present on social media, and I really what you achieved in terms of visibility in less than 10 years is really incredible, and I think a lot of institutions can learn from you, and I really commend your business acumen and entrepreneurial spirit, because it's really incredible. So yeah, that's what I feel. I feel really that with all the discussions now and before, that's what I said before. Students are at the center here. So I think also with the discussions with the students I had before, they really feel that, and they know that, and they benefit from that. So this is great. So I think your leadership team, you give the impression you know what you want, you know where you want to go, and you do it, and you manage to do it. And so I think you built a very future-proof institution here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. And we need support of professors like you from globally, I think, to get the best of what we want to do, and to be able to also share our values in return. And I think we still have miles to go. This is just the beginning of building this institution, but I think we will get there. We'll get there very soon. Thank you once again. So with that, we have come to the end of this discussion, and we will be back with another chair professor in the next episode very soon. Thank you.